You like electronic music?
If I can dance to it.
Looks like you've been living in here.
Yeah, sure looks that way.
I mix at a booth on weekends.
In a club?
Just till I get my own place.
I've always wanted my own place too. A little boutique.
You make clothes? Can you dance?
I love to dance.
Is my sister here?
She never told me she had a sister.
This is a strip club?
Don't freak out, okay? I wouldn't let anything happen to you. I love you. We just have to sacrifice a little now, and then we can have whatever we want together.
We have our place together, and we're working towards something together.
We love each other. We need to be together. We don't need anybody else. Where are you going? I knew it. What the hell is this? You love me, don't you?
Hey, Adam.
Wiseman.
How are you?
Oh, good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Nice to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
This is nice, so we can kind of get reacquainted before everybody else Zoom bombs us.
Yeah, sorry about all the fucking.
It's not your.
hiring.
No, don't worry about it. Absolutely doesn't matter. Things like this happen all the time.
Is that a Shure SM7B? Is that the mic that you use? Is that the go-to podcasting mic?
No, I forget which model this is, but I've forgotten. I have a number of Shure mics, but they're the ones that used to drag around, walking around, stopping filmmakers in Brooklyn on the street and wrestling them to the ground and forcing them to podcast with me.
Nice.
It worked for a while.
Yeah, well, you've been getting some really great guests. I mean, I follow you on all the socials. Certainly.
Thank you. And you.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
so far so good. Oh, looks like
Hello.
Who's interrupting our? Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Hey, Morgan.
Hi, Morgan. Morgan actually was on this podcast once before.
I was?
Yeah.
Damn.
Blow the Man Down. It was just it was one of these things where it was you and your co-star
Sophie.
Huh?
Sophie Lowe, maybe.
Yes, and Margot.
Oh, cool. What was it during Tribeca? Just all that?
Yeah, I think it probably might have been, or it was
maybe the release.
No, I think it was I think it was hi Ben. Hello. Anyway, the point is, it was over the phone.
Okay.
Ben, I was just telling Morgan she actually had been on this podcast.
I've been here before. I didn't even know.
Prior to, well, you're not a veteran like Bryan, who.
Oh, how many times have you been here, Bryan?
I've only been on your show once, Adam. That was with Andrew years ago. No, more than once?
we're both ill-informed.
Yeah. Anyway. A couple of times, but yes, there was Andrew Siemens, who I know has a huge role in this film.
Yeah, he's an extra in the bar. Yeah.
Who else is an extra, by the way? Just get that out of the way before.
Andrew has a film at Sundance with Rebecca Hall in January.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah,
okay.
He's finally got his stuff going. You asked who else is in this movie?
Well, I mean, I can see these luminaries that are on the podcast right now, but I'm wondering. But I know, I mean, I saw some sleazy guy trying to pick up the Morgan's character.
Owner, probably, right?
Yeah.
Lots of little cameos from the New York film scene.
Yeah, it's a rogues gallery for sure.
Anyway, I'm glad to have seen it and to be caught up with you guys, and I'm glad to meet you, Ben. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Sure. And Morgan, you're working on something right now?
I am.
So, are you exhausted? Or you've been working all day?
I'm so fucking exhausted. No, I wasn't working today, but I am simultaneously in finals for school, so that's a great combo.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's what I've been doing all weekend. And tomorrow at 6 a.m. we'll go back to work.
Well, you have you're totally justified for not doing the show. You should have just but I appreciate all the more.
Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Where are you going to school?
I'm uptown at Columbia in New York.
That's the one on Broadway, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
All right.
You know. But I'm in LA at the moment.
I know. What was it like working on this film? Because it's a very, very it's intense. I mean, we can say that.
Yeah.
How was it working on the film, you guys? What was it? I mean, what was the experience like?
Who wants to start?
Ben, you haven't said anything. You can start. It's a very broad question. But
what was it like to work on the film? It was really wonderful.
Your character is he's a complicated fella, this Nathan guy. So
yeah, he is a little complicated. Yeah, one could say that his motivations for things might be a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the process of making the movie was, the material was very intense, and it does get dark and psychologically kind of twisted.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a hell of a good time making it. When I met with Bryan to discuss the possibility of doing this whole thing, he had part of what drew me in was he clearly had a strong relationship with some of the crew members coming into it. He had a deep relationship with our DP, Mark Schwartzbard.
Right.
And then, the way these indies go is we all have to get to know each other rather quickly and then just sort of jump into it. So it's sort of scary sometimes, but this is one where it was just a really small crew, and everybody was like, I think really earnestly wanting to make the best movie that we could, and also, having fun, like lots of jokes and stuff like that when we weren't like pretending to be so upset.
Yeah, I was very lucky to get Mark. I mean, Mark's shot everything I've ever done. I think this is our third feature together. And also Michael Taylor, who Morgan worked with on White Girl.
I know. I covered that film too, but Morgan was on it. But the perennial Michael Taylor.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's great. And,
He's on the set?
He wasn't on set, but he...
yeah, he did stop by.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Early on, he came by. Early on. I mean, Mark didn't even take a salary for this movie. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that in public.
No, I am pretty sure you're not.
And the movie he jumped off to on this was a $20 million Universal movie with like Lakeith Stanfield called Photograph. So like, and he kept telling me, they would do all these crazy things on this movie. He's like, you guys should have seen the movie I just came with. Like, just put him in the car. Just like get rid of all this shit and let, just do it. Like, you don't need 40 things to film a person in a car. So it's interesting. It's and so I'm indebted to both of those guys for kind of sticking with me. And one thing I want to say about Ben too, about his character, I mean, Morgan tends to get a lot of the recognition. The film certainly follows her as the lead, but I feel like Ben doesn't get enough props because it's very, very hard, I think, in my experience, both to write and play and inhabit, someone who has these sort of sociopathic, controlling, dark tendencies, things that we sort of shy away from. And so I think Ben really embraced it, and it was, his sort of generosity that I think elevated Morgan's performance, actually.
Yeah, and it's also, I really like going into a film like I did with You Mean Everything to Me. By the way, the name of the movie, and because starring Morgan Saylor and Ben Rosenfield. I didn't fuck up, did I?
No, that's right.
And directed by Bryan Wizamann. Sorry about that. And then which is I really had I didn't do any reading before. I didn't, because
that's how I like to go in too.
Yeah, when I mean, it's not. I usually do know more about a film, but this was a case where I was like, I knew that there was a film, Bryan, and I had it in my head. I got to make sure I don't miss it, like that. And then I get you guys, get you on here. And but anyway, the point being is that I didn't really know much, and it could have been, for all I know, this one of these beautiful little, love stories, and on one level, maybe it is. I mean, anyway. So when I saw you guys originally, the chemistry there was really good. I mean, you guys have a lot of chemistry, and so you just assume this is going to be one of these kind of you're going to fall in love, and it's going to be difficult and complicated, but it's going to be boy meets girl kind of thing. Boy, was I surprised, but it was good. Good to be. I like surprises.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, I mean, there are certainly audience members who wish it were that movie. I think because the setup is such that, I had to get them sort of fast together and sort of bonded quickly, which is why, it's at a low point, having just been tossed out by her sister. The meet happens fast, the sex happens fast, the bonding happens fast. It's all very quick because, people like Nate, Ben's character in this situation, it's this sort of love bombing that happens. Like, you sort of give them all your love at once and then slowly withdraw it to get what you want. They confuse kind of love with control, right? They can confuse, relationships with this sort of codependency and micromanagement, and just anything that starts to skew that control, it sets them off, right? And they become jealous, and they distance the person from their friends and family, and it just becomes more and more. It's this coercive control idea that is something I didn't sort of realize until I started researching this film, because it was sort of based, it's an amalgam of a couple people I grew up with in Vegas and were close with. And, one aside on that, I was hoping I was watching documentaries and reading articles and all this about women who find themselves in this situation. And I was hoping to mine a lot of detailed material. And the unfortunate thing is there isn't a lot of detail there. Often, if someone is asked like why they're on the street, they're like, well, my boyfriend and I were doing drugs and we ran out of money and he told me to go do this, and it's like, it's just so quick. So a lot of in this situation, we had to sort of invent and kind of dramatize, how that sort of slow coercion would happen. And I think these guys did a great job.
I mean, from the start, Morgan, your character, Cassandra, is, obviously you're with her, you're in her, with her and behind her. And I, immediately felt, empathy. And so and then I was thinking, when you meet the Nathan character at the bar, I was thinking, of course, everybody says, don't go too far, give him the number and just say, there you go. Right. And yet he's very charming, very, charismatic, I guess. And, he knows he's very good at talking people into things, as we see. But I was thinking, once in a while I've been in your place in the character's place where I felt like, I know I should keep it slow, but sometimes why not jump in at the deep end? The kind of, it's worth the risk sometimes. Sometimes, okay, maybe it won't work out, but, sometimes just taking the risk is great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's funny. I was talking to someone else doing an interview yesterday, and he mentioned that, there's a point where she just jumps in, and isn't that kind of risky and dangerous? And I was like, yes, but I think that's also what happens sometimes in healthy relationships. There's just the point where you meet someone and you feel a connection. And if, you want to put your heart in their hands, you do, whether it goes sour or not.
Yeah. So, and then Ben, how did you I mean, other than working probably with Bryan, I mean, what kind of things did you consider or think about when developing this character, Nathan? Because he is, you know, you have to kind of keep him likable, right? For the most part, at least for a while.
Yeah, that's definitely something that me and Bryan talked about a lot. I think that was kind of where we jumped into the conversation. It's like, how are we going to make this journey as big and believable for these characters as possible?
And I think, like you said, Adam, like not playing the end at the beginning, you know, keeping
Yeah,
the suspense.
yeah, keeping that possibility that maybe it will just be a really romantic movie open. I mean, things I did to prepare for the character, I definitely was very into like the ulterior motives and the essentially like the con man in him. I just think that there's something interesting about that, like the two-faced characters. And yeah, I don't know, I was like looking at Midnight Cowboy a lot actually, which is like, it's different, but Ratso is certainly somebody who knows how to get people to go along his path in a way that is endearing and charismatic and not always healthy, but you kind of get why.
Do you feel like you have to like Nathan or find the humanity in him? Like a lot of people who play villains or like difficult people still have to feel as an actor that you have to find a way to like the guy, or at least empathize or something.
Yeah, I once I start playing the character, I'm on set. Yeah, if somebody's talking shit about my character, like, "Oh, you were such an asshole when you said that line. I hated it." I'll be like, "Don't say that to me," I feel you're talking about me now. But like, no, I don't feel that way when I read it. Like when I read it, sometimes on the page, I'll be like, "Wow, that's I would never do that." But yeah, I don't know. You definitely, once you're there, can't be thinking your character is doing everything wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was important working with Ben that he had strong motivations for these choices and could defend them in a way that he wasn't doing anything wrong. And Michael Taylor was very excited about the first assembly of this because he said, people are going to stick with Ben for a long time with this. They're going to ride some of these rocky things out the way that people ignore red flags in life, certainly. And I mean, there were tough scenes. One person who watched the film was like, "Oh, when I saw that scene, after the assault, where Nathan's character said, what did he say? Oh, he was like, this was really hard for me. He's like, oh, I just wanted to punch him in the face, But from Nate's character, he's seeing himself giving up as much as she is. In reality, he's not, right? But that's the point of view of a sociopath. There's somebody in that situation who becomes micro-controlling and exploitative and sees a person as an object and kind of takes control, feels that love, an expression of love, is total ownership and total control, right? And I just want to say one other thing. There are people who are, they sort of have trouble getting on board because, they're like, Morgan's character is so sort of smart and strong-willed, and sort of my response would be that, the news is full of smart and strong-willed people who this has happened to, I was just reading about the FKA Twigs lawsuit with like Shia LaBeouf, right? Like she seems like one of the strongest women out there. And she was in a very similar kind of coercive control relationship with that guy. That sounds awful. Or even the Marilyn Manson, Evan Rachel Wood thing. Like there's plenty of people in the public eye, and more so, I would argue, who are not people who are, on the outs or runaways or something, who are easily taken advantage of. There's plenty of people who, like Morgan said, you jump in, you trust your heart, you go with it. And sometimes it's just the wrong place, wrong time, wrong person.
What has the reaction been, Morgan? People have seen you in the film with the character. What have you heard from friends? And
well, it hasn't it's coming into the world next week. Tune in.
True. It's premiering this Friday.
Yeah, it's coming out.
Cinema Village.
Cinema Village. Thank you, Ben.
Come through.
Cinema Village.
Come through.
By the way, you guys will be there.
I will not.
I will be there. I believe Brian, you'll be there.
Yeah, I think it's there'll be a Q&A after the 7:15 show, and I think Lindsay Burge is also going to join us. She was
right.
Morgan's sister, the co-star. We loved having her. She was great.
But the reactions I have gotten have been, it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's like we were saying, like your character seems like she has a decent head on her shoulders. Why is she doing these things? And I've heard that, of course, the ending is especially painful and you can't really take your eyes away, but if you want to. Yeah, which is kind of what we were going for. Yeah,
I mean, and hard to watch is absolutely right. I sometimes feel like I have to apologize in advance when I point people toward my films. I'm slowly getting out of this rut, but it's, you're sort of exercising some demons from your past. But
many great filmmakers have been in the same sort of, would say the same thing.
I hope. I don't know. It can't all be cake. It can't all be superheroes and roller coasters.
Thank God.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if it weren't an important.
By the way, Ben mentioned Midnight Cowboy, which is not exactly what I would call, chock full of laughs. It's a pretty dark film. I mean, why don't we get to Miami? You gotta go to Rico. I mean, he dies. I hope it's not a spoiler.
Yeah, no,
but I mean, the dark films seem to last as well. That's my point.
I hope so. I think so. I mean, I still get various people reaching out to me on social media from a film I made, 10 years ago that lingers, but I think in America, especially, like there was one woman, she showed the film to like her mother or something, and she said, yeah, it's a good movie, but I don't know if that's entertainment.
I like that review.
Yeah, that's sort of where we're at. But look, it's an important social issue, and I've been holding on to this story for like 30 years, figuring out how to do it, how to explore it. We did it. These kinds of films don't get funded. We did it all privately for as cheap as you can make a movie, and we got very lucky, and we got lucky because there was a lot of experience on set. Morgan and Ben are complete professionals, and we worked really hard to get them the script and convince them, despite it all, that they were real people. Having Mark and Michael and Matt Grady and those guys really, helped kind of, I think, set them at ease. And they're like, oh yeah, maybe this is a real production, even though, the money isn't really there.
Those are the most of the kind of movies I make, Brian.
Well, there you go.
Ben, but you did work with David Lynch, didn't you?
I did work with David Lynch, yeah. No, they do pay you for television.
Talk about dark. I mean, come on.
Yeah, talk about dark.
Yeah. So Brian, you're in good company. What was that like, Ben? Can you say a couple of words about it?
Yeah, it was.
All right,
really...
go.
That's a pretty good impression there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. No, it was more like this. All right. Now listen, you're up in a skyscraper in Manhattan, and it's very late at night, and there's something in the air. There's something in the air, and you can't quite put your finger on it. And go.
He does do that, because I was referring to the Louis C.K. arc.
No, he really does that. He does and go in action. He also does it with the megaphone a lot.
He does?
Yeah.
Is that just for shock value, do you think?
Well, we were doing some stuff, I suppose, that at times there was some sort of stunty type things, but no, I think it's just, so he doesn't have to yell. He doesn't have to get out of his chair. He just smoke and
megaphone.
Yeah.
I actually just showed my film students the atomic bomb sequence, the episode 8 of the Twin Peaks. I was like, you guys want to see a master craftsman at work for something that was on cable TV, right? Just watch this next 20 minutes. I mean, it's unbelievable.
But it was more fun working with Bryan Wizamann, ultimately.
I don't
So
believe you.
Gotta come
I
see
don't
this
believe-
movie. You know,
And you'll
it's
be
not
there.
as surreal, but it's just as dark.
And just to kind of respond, Brian, to your I think there's a self-consciousness thing going on with your dark subject matter between About Sunny and this one. You mean everything to me. But I need to get, I was just watching the final episode of the Beatles.
Wait, don't no big spoilers. I'm so excited to watch it.
They break up.
I know it's his.
Only spoiler I can give is they actually perform a concert on the roof, which I think is common knowledge. But
I've
I
heard the
assume-
police come. I already got this spoiler.
Oh, I see.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but it's so, I don't know. This is a band. I mean, I know it's the Beatles. They're bigger than life, and they're iconic, and they're so famous, beyond famous, right? I mean, it's like at that level where, but it brought me back. That what's nice about it is it brought me back to an emotional place watching it, because they were young and they were creating stuff, and they just, I don't know, there was just such beautiful moments and beautiful chemistry, art making in there, and it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't like just meant to be this movie. I don't see, or documentary had to be on this type of platform, because it's like an independent film almost.
Yeah.
This thing, it just happens to be the Beatles, but it could have been any band that had this incredible chemistry. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I go to see films because I want to be moved, and part of being moved is sometimes being upset, or challenged and disturbed, and that's great. I mean, so I think there are a lot of people like us here in this little Zoom room who kind of, we want to see things like that, and then there's other people maybe that are looking to be entertained, and that's fine. It's just a matter of having options.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're right. By the way, I could have watched 8 additional hours of that Beatles documentary. I really loved it. I'm a drummer for this like alt country guy, and we're doing a lot of recording. And I'm like, oh yeah, we sort of do that too. Like for me, it was just a peek behind the curtain. And the fact that it's like 50 years later and they're such icons now, to see them work out, one of the greatest songs ever made, and just kind of riff on it, like, oh, maybe it should be this. It really was lovely. But in terms of what you said about, tackling these issues, I mean, I didn't invent this kind of phenomenon, right? This like the way often men will sort of manipulate or coerce someone into doing something they don't want to do, right? Into a toxic relationship. I was just exposed to it. I was on the receiving end of it. Certainly I witnessed, that I can tell you the stakes are much higher for a woman in certain circumstances, almost invariably. And so, I'm more just reflecting back something of the human condition. I'm not inventing something just to be hard to watch. I'm like, well, this is something that exists. Yeah, it can be difficult, it can be challenging, but like, shouldn't we explore it a little? Because I have so many questions, and that's sort of where the film is. That's where the art lies. Like, I don't know if I have any answers, but I'm closer to that material now, having lived through it, having put Ben and Morgan through, inhabiting it in life. I mean, I remember one scene where Ben was like, God, I need a shower, like after this scene. You remember that?
Yes.
And we're like, yeah, it's icky. It was icky to write. It was icky to perform for you guys. It was icky to cut, right? It makes you wince. It can be off-putting, but I don't know how to make the film any other way. Like, we had to go there, we had to sort of plumb that depths, and these guys, that both of you, fearless performances, I think is what pulls people through. And I think people would walk out if there was any hesitancy in either one of their performances.
While you're mentioning some of this, I will steer people towards your piece you wrote for Talkhouse.
Oh yeah, it's not out yet, but please do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be out tomorrow or something.
Well, this will be posted after that.
Yeah.
We'll post this on Friday. So when people see this conversation with the lovely Morgan Saylor and the lovely Ben Rosenfield, that they can go right to the movie theater. Is it going to be streaming or anything? Or is that going to be later on? We're going to.
It'll be after the theatrical. Yeah, we don't have any details on that, but probably all the regular streaming platforms, most likely under Matt's Factory 25 banner.
Right, and it's good to, even though Matt's not here, it's good to kind of be reunited. You know, it just so happens I was once in a Factory 25 film, but that I won't get into that.
Oh, come on, give us a little.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Which film, man?
It's called
who'd you
Richard's
play?
Wedding.
Richard's Wedding. Right?
Yeah, it was directed by your owner, and it was a long time ago, but it's okay. But I have this connection. We're in the Factory 25 family. Anyway, and now you're in the Filmwax family, so I'm really grateful for you guys to come on. And Morgan, I'm glad that you're back, because the audio I recorded for Blow the Man Down, not so great.
Oh, no? Well, I'm glad to be with your face now.
Thank me too. I mean yours. but if people could also go to see that, it's still probably on Amazon Prime or Amazon Prime Videos, and so
it's a nice light film.
What's that?
I said it's a nice light film.
It's nice. It has like a Coen Brothers-esque quality to it, right? Blow the Man Down.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, the Talkhouse thing is fun. Ben and Morgan, for those of you who don't know, I wrote an essay, I think it's called like The Long Shadow of Las Vegas or something, just about how the last 3 films I made, dealt with like my mother's video poker addiction, or sort of, the time when my father left the country and we kind of didn't have any money, single mother kind of thing. And then hopefully the last thing about Vegas was this phenomenon of just growing up around strip clubs and it just being part of life. And it wasn't until you sort of leave Vegas that you are like, oh, I guess other cities don't have casinos and strip clubs
in their 7-Elevens, right?
Hotels. And yeah, it's right in the slot machines in the 7-Eleven. So it was just, hopefully I can put that to bed. That's what that article's trying to do. But that's what Adam's referring to.
Cool.
Yeah, well, it was very, very transparent. I mean, very, honest, and I really appreciate your risking, so much, and taking, and putting yourself out there like that. It's not so typical.
Thanks. I don't know how to write unless it's sort of confessionalist like that. So
well, we'll put a link also for with this, and so people can find it. And anyway, so again, one last time, the name of the film is called You Mean Everything to Me. It's written and directed and produced by Bryan Wizamann. Right, I got that right?
Yeah, and Matt Grady's also a producer on it. Yeah,
and I know, and you got lots of other producers on it, because why not? And stars Ben Rosenfield and Rosenberg, rather, and Rosenfield. I'm having a difficulty. Ben Rosenfield. Let me fix that. And it stars Ben Rosenfield and Morgan Saylor and Lindsay Burge. And is there somebody? Is it true? Is this Sofia Coppola in this film? What is up with that? I'm a credit reader.
We had an intern, a PA named Sofia Coppola with an
funny,
F, not a PH.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I guess it was with the F's, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. Right. And Leah Shore I recognized in the end.
Leah, I think, was in the club at some point.
And Sofia Coppola also was in the movie too, she was one of the dancers in the background, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was sort of all hands on deck. I mean, I think we only had a dozen people on the actual crew, and then we just tried to have, the same number of PAs running around helping wherever they could. But yeah, it was a real run and gun. If I knew how to make it for less and still pay people, still do it legal, I would have, but I didn't know how.
Well, next time around, that's all I can say.
Next time I'd like.
Now that you've purged yourself, I'm sure you'll be moving on to superhero fare or something of that nature.
Yeah, I won't hold my breath, but yeah, right. One day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Adam.
You can go about your evening, or the rest of your evening now.
You too.
Ready.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So long.
Nice meeting you.
Bye-bye.